What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday, which means Boxingego Monday Mail Day MMD. Thank you guys for subscribing, submitting questions, all the donations. Boxingego, Ego, myself, we working, man. Just got back from Vegas earlier. Feels good to be back in my own bed. Put a thumb up next to the questions I'm going to answer, and let's have some fun. Ward Kovalev, great fight. Rematch, meaningful fight, just happened. Let's get it in. First question is from No Mo for you. Yo, Ego, do you think Ward will ever get his props? He did everything right in the fight like expected and stopped Kovalev. And personally, I don't think those last 3 to 4 shots were low blows, more like the belt line. But nevertheless, do you think referee Tony Weeks did his job? Stephen A. Smith was quoted saying, not to take anything away from Andre Ward, but fight shouldn't have been stopped. A champ deserves the 8 count first. Listen, I'm not here to... When fighters do well, when fighters do what I think is right for the sport, I give credit. So I can only speak on behalf of me. Ultimately, I don't know if Ward will get credit from everyone. I mean, obviously he's not going to get credit from every single person, but real boxing heads know what it is. And that man went in there, surgically dismantled a killer like Kovalev. I mean, there's not really many guys at light heavyweight I think would have had that type of fight against him. That's just my honest opinion. You know what I mean? Kovalev looked in shape. He looked lean. He was angry, but he didn't come out like in fight stupid. He looked solid at the first couple rounds. Ward had a better game plan, timing, and made his adjustments, and the rest was history. As far as Stephen A. Smith, I mean, I don't know him personally, not to throw shade, but I don't really think he knows about boxing. I only see him pop up occasionally when there's a big major Pacquiao fighting or Mayweather McGregor. So I mean, I don't really take what he's talking about as serious. I mean, he did covered the Pacquiao fight. He was a commentator for, I think, Pacquiao Vargas, and I think he did a terrible job. And it's not just me. A lot of people felt that way. So I mean, I don't Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, none of them type of dudes, because you don't talk about boxing frequently enough for my liking. Why are you not talking about Chocolatito Sor Rungvisai or a fight like that? Takashi Miura's fight. Those are good fights. You don't see him pop up and say, oh, I can't wait for Joe Smith Jr., Sullivan Barrera. It's only the big major fights and pay-per-view fight, Canelo Chavez. Man, get out of here with that. Other thing is, Stephen A. Smith says a champ deserves an 8 count. Kovalev wasn't a champion. I seen the tweet, but Kovalev lost to Ward and was no longer a champion. So what do you mean a champ deserves an 8 count? What does that even mean? Kovalev wasn't a champion. A former champion deserves. So if you're a former champion and you look gassed out, you know what I'm saying? The referee has to, and your body language looks terrible. You're no longer throwing punches, right? And you're curled over. That's why you got hit on the belt line. Tell him, like I said in the realest Ward Kovalev 2 breakdown. I did part 1 and 2. Check those on the channel. Tell Kovalev to stand straight up like normal fighters. And then I guarantee you, Ward would have had an easier time placing those body shots. But if a man's all doubled over, what are you gonna do? You're trying to get him out of there. So if he's all crouched down in a fetal defensive position, then you're gonna get it where you get it. And it was on the belt line, as opposed to everyone keeps saying low blows. Do you guys understand what a low blow is? A low blow is anything below the belt line. And I'm telling you guys, man, I've been saying this for a while, since January. I'm coming, and like, you know what I mean? I've been working my ass off. 2017's been phenomenal. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. A lot of y'all dudes that go above and beyond to overly hate on only certain fighters and make all these excuses, and Pacquiao had a shoulder injury, salt water. That's why no one takes you seriously. That's why those channels, those writers, those articles, those boxing pages on Facebook, whatever they are, that's why they don't grow at the same speed. You know what I'm saying? You could check my numbers. You could check anything about my G files, my track record, and see what it is, and you'll understand. You could check my bank account too. You know what I mean? That's why some of these dudes, they don't make no money off of this, because people want the truth. Some people hate. They say I'm biased. They say I love only certain fighter, whatever. I don't care. None of that. My bank account and all these checks cash the same way. So you know what I mean? I don't really care. And like, I'm strong enough. My parents didn't raise me to be weak. So I'm strong enough to take that. If I know what I'm doing and my heart is right and pure, then I'm gonna say my piece. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. I don't care who's mad or who's offended. That's what it's gonna be. And like I said, you can tell from the numbers. If what I was saying was so outrageous and racist and all this other stuff that people try to throw out there to suppress the message, then everybody who's saying the exact opposite and saying, oh, Ward is the nutcracker and low blow Ward and all that, their channel should be doing great, because I'm not saying that, and they're saying the exact opposite. So they should be growing massively, and they're not. We know that. And like I said, a lot of you guys want to desperately cling to stupid recycled rhetoric when it comes to boxing, and that's why you get nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have some tweets from actual people in the industry. Lou DiBella, promoter, who promoted Sergio Martinez and promotes a ton of guys. Errol Spence Jr. puts on a lot of great fights. Wow, right on, Max Kellerman. Correct. Kovalev wanted out. And stop with this low blow BS. Ward just beat the will and heart out of Kovalev. Period. Okay, haters, hear this. Andre Ward is a great fighter. You know what I mean? It's like real recognizes real. You know what I mean? You have a promoter saying it, right? You have Peter Quillen. Now, he's a stablemate, so you can say whatever, but he's highlighting it. Tony Weeks telling Andre Ward punches right here is good. This is where he hit him. And keep in mind, Kovalev was all bent up and punched, and he was like fatigued and toppled over. And Weeks is showing you where it's good. Below the belt would be here, you know what I mean? Underneath, where your genitalia would be compromised. Gabe Rosado. And I don't care. See, this is what people do. They try to defer and deflect. I've been doing this long enough. They'll say, oh, but Gabe Rosado, David Lemieux beat you, or Triple G. What does that got to do with him being a professional fighter and breaking down a fight game? Freddie Roach, he didn't have a great historic career as a boxer, but he's a trainer. He's a good trainer. You know what I'm saying? So if he has an opinion about Pacquiao, then, I mean, people usually take some of the things he says into consideration. He's a boxing source. And one thing you can't say about Gabe Rosado, like, instead of changing the subject, the motherfucker is a warrior. He doesn't bail out of fights. You know what I mean? And look what he says. Kovalev wanted out. It got too hot in the kitchen. Ha ha ha. You can't say that, you know what I'm saying? So no matter which way you slice it, you can't take that away from that man. He's a warrior. He is a true warrior. He just fought in the UK and got robbed. You know what I'm saying? Matthew Macklin. Any more videos of Kathy Duva losing the plot? So he's having fun thinking she looks crazy out there. Bad stoppage, but result inevitable. He wanted out. He was a broken man. Great performance, Andre Ward. Pound for pound, #1. Matthew Macklin, another fighter who's I think he's promoting, or he's like managing Mike Connellan, who's an up-and-coming great. He was hitting the bladder, not the balls. Low, yes, but not especially hurtful. He wanted out, right? Great performance by Andre Ward. I think he's #1 pound for pound after that performance. You know what I'm saying? Real recognizes real. I agree it shouldn't have been stopped, but I guess the ref since Kovalev didn't want to know. They weren't low blows, borderline, and they don't hurt. I know. He's a boxer. He's been in there with Sergio Martinez. He's been in there with Golovkin. Kovalev quit. Ward shook him with the right hand and was breaking him up anyway. You know what I'm saying? So these are multiple, and I could do this all day. Kovalev wanted out. Ward bullied the bully and broke him. You know what I'm saying? We could do this all day. Kovalev didn't want to know there. Ward broke his heart. And like I said, what is Matthew Macklin, an Irish, UK, British fighter? Why would he have this affinity to Ward? He's just calling it like he sees. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. So again, a lot of y'all that cling to these stupid points, oh, low blows and stuff. That's it. That's not, break the fight down. Talk about the fight. Don't talk about dick riding, penises, gays, like all this. Talk about the fight. Don't talk about nuts and stuff. Break down the fight. Kovalev was losing. He got broke up. He couldn't make good with his promises. Simple. Next question, logical sense. Fantasy fight at 140, Juan Manuel Marquez in his prime versus Broner before the Maidana loss. Who wins and why? Wow, that's a tough question because one, it's a super what if, because at the end of the day, Broner elected to move from 35 straight to 47. So we don't really know what his career would have been had he just moved up to the next division up, which is 140. I would probably say Broner. And Broner's youthful. Marquez struggles with guys who can box, but Broner would have, I mean, it's really a 50-50 fight. Broner would have to be very careful with Marquez, and he would have to try to box. If he fights him flat-footed and like does too much, then he can get countered. But Marquez is much slower than Broner. Broner's youthful, strong, and he's athletic, and speed has always bothered Marquez, right? So I would favor Broner slightly, but I mean that's a hard fight to pick. But yeah, I would favor Broner slightly. Next question, Mario Davis. Yo, Ego, I know you saw how hard Jim Lampley was trying to push the commissioners to change the decision on the Rigondeaux fight. Why wasn't he this active to get a decision changed in other past fights? I mean, who knows? And I actually didn't see it because I was live there in the arena at Mandalay Bay. So I didn't really see, but I heard the overflow of what the context of what he was saying. He was basically shocked and stuff. And it's just so funny. Jim Lampley, just like half of the people that I was talking about earlier in this video, you know what I mean, that sound like super casual, and all of a sudden you want to be this vigilante for boxing because Bradley beats Pacquiao, or Rigondeaux hit after the belt when they were both just kind of scuffling and both threw punches after the bell and all that. But now all of a sudden you want to be this noble. What? Like, why do you care what happens? It's not your professional career. He tries to over influence the audience and stuff like that. HBO commentary is terrible these days. Terrible. In fact, the only person I really truly enjoy, like 100% of the time or majority of the time or whatever, is Roy Jones Jr. Max Kellerman, he knows his stuff, but at times he's like flip-flops, and he seems like he's saying things to be a company man. But that's just me. But I mean, we already know Jim Lampley, all these dudes tell the truth. Jack C3D, great job, Ego, on a job well done. Love your channel. Anyway, where do you think Kovalev goes from here after this TKO loss? Also, what are your thoughts on Tony Weeks saying he made a mistake with the decision? Personally, I thought it was a legit TKO. Here's a link to Tony Weeks' Twitter page. Now, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going into that Twitter stuff. I don't even know if that's Tony Weeks. Usually celebrity accounts, they're verified, and that one's not. I've seen the tweet and people are posting it. I don't know. I don't know if Tony Weeks is, some adults, like guys around his age don't really even use social media. So I don't know. I have no way to confirm that's him. It could be his account and then he has a handler, his son or something posting. I don't know. So I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? I can't. This is the problem with the internet. People believe everything they hear or see or read, and it doesn't work like that anymore. I seen something like, it was like supposed to be, someone used Donald Trump's account and they took all the verified stuff, right? So it looked like that, but then they must have did some kind of Photoshop job. So they whited out what he really put, and then they used similar fonts and all that, and it made it look like he was talking crazy. And people were like spreading like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Donald Trump just said this about Beyonce. And I'm like, he didn't say that. And then if you go look at the timestamps and you go look, there's nothing on his account that said that to Beyonce. You know what I'm saying? So people are too gullible. I don't know that as Weeks. I never heard him, like seen him on tape saying like, hey, I made a mistake. My judgment was wrong. So I'm not going off of no unverified random account that says Tony Weeks _ or whatever that is. So that's that. Where does Kovalev go? He should take a tune-up. I mean, his spirit looked broken, his will, and he got broke down, kind of like Errol Spence, Kell Brook. He just got too hot in the kitchen, as Gabe Rosado said. And who knows? He might not be the same fighter after that. Sometimes getting knocked out, especially like, let's say like Pacquiao Marquez 4, and this is a bad knockout, but Pacquiao knows he was competitive in the fight. He made a mistake and got caught. You know what I mean? So you just look out for that knockout punch. Sometimes getting your will broken and the fight beat out of you. Kell Brook versus Errol Spence. Victor Postal versus Crawford. Like, you notice Victor Postal, where has he been? Why has he not come back since that fight? Why did it take Lucas Matisse so long to come back after Victor Postal dogged him? You know what I mean? Sometimes those types of losses are harder than a knockout. Like I said, sometimes, oh shit, I slipped and got hit and got knocked out. You know what I mean? Those are almost easier to forgive yourself about. But sometimes when someone breaks your whole spirit, you might not be the same. You know what I mean? Like what Bernard Hopkins did to Kelly Pavlik. You might not be the same guy after that. So we have to wait and see. But Kovalev definitely should take a tune-up after 2 Ward fights. Those are not the type, you don't want to just get in there Artur Beterbiev. And mark my words, if he fought Artur Beterbiev next, I would pick Beterbiev to beat him. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think his confidence would be where it needs to be. And Beterbiev holds amateur wins over him. Next question, round 105. Hey, Ego, love the work. I'm a big fan and enjoy putting you on my car speakers to hear videos while I drive. Thank you. Okay, 2 questions. 1, I always ask the question and never got an answer. How would a young Erik Morales do against a Floyd Mayweather? Morales was able to outbox Manny Pacquiao and beat some of the top names of his division. 2, how do you feel about the WBO? I honestly think it's the most meaningless belt out of all the world belts. If they're letting guys like Lomachenko fight for his second fight, no matter what, how good his amateur record, when someone like Guillermo Rigondeaux and Richard Brill had to at least have 10 fights or more show their championship material. Also, that the WBO should be putting a mandatory on Manny Pacquiao. Manny, because Pacquiao, as you said, is getting older and is really just a belt warmer who refuses to let younger, stronger, with more credibility get a shot. Not only that, but most fighters I've seen fight for the belt are top-ranked fighters. Yeah, I mean, there's clearly, it seems like a HBO belt, it seems like a top-ranked belt, and it seems to me that certain fighters that they don't care if they represent, like Guillermo Rigondeaux or Demetrius Boo Boo Andre, they get stripped. And then Austin Trout was suing them because he was supposed to be ranked in line for a title shot, and they skipped over him and made a fight with Thompson versus Liam Smith. And he was like, hey, I was ranked higher than that, or one of them, so I should have been fighting for that title. You know what I mean? And Demetrius Andre got stripped over inactivity, stuff like that. So it is what it is. Yeah, it definitely seems like there's some politics there. Cotto's fighting for the WBO belt. Cotto ain't fought in 2 years, and it's coming off of a loss. And it really ain't the man at 154. You know, what fight has he won at 154? I mean, I don't remember what Margarito, the rematch was at, but I mean, he did solid, but most of that was because Pacquiao did a number on Margarito's eye. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is with the WBO. And Pacquiao, it doesn't seem like he wants to fight nobody real. And the first part of your question, Erik Morales versus Floyd Mayweather. I honestly think Floyd Mayweather would end up pretty much dogging him. Like, I heard Morales sparred Floyd Mayweather back in the day and did well. I don't know, you know what I mean? I wasn't there, so I don't know how true that is. But in a fight, bright lights, got to go with Floyd Mayweather. And I think Floyd Mayweather would pretty surgically dismantle Erik Morales, because Morales he's good, he's talented, he has solid power. But Floyd he just, especially under 147, Floyd, he was a dog. You know what I mean? Guys like Zab Judah, DeMarcus Corley, you know what I mean, around the 135, 140-ish range. Floyd was the man. And the clear speed advantage would be to Floyd Mayweather. Athleticism, reach, height, probably all of that would go to Floyd. Skills, defense, better foot movement, better ring IQ. I mean, what would Morales have for him that Floyd has not seen? You know what I mean? Like I said, I think Morales is tough. He's game. You've seen him in the Maidana fight. He held on with a messed up eye. He got heart. But he even though he was later in his career, he still lost to Danny Garcia, right? He still lost to Danny Garcia again and got knocked out. Do you honestly, even at this age, Floyd's older than Morales was when he lost to Danny Garcia. At this age, I would pick Floyd to beat Danny Garcia. So, you know what I mean? It just tells you Floyd has like skills that are hard to match, and even though he's older, he could still get away with it. So if they would have fought back in the day, Floyd was even younger and fresher, and I think it would look similar to Juan Manuel Marquez when Floyd fought him, to be honest. I think the first couple rounds, filler rounds, maybe Morales brings some stuff, but completely different fight from Morales and Pacquiao, because Pacquiao, if you fight like Erik Morales, first of all, the first fight was the only one that Morales won. Second of all, there was a lot of things that went wrong for Pacquiao in the fight. A nasty cut that bothered Pacquiao in that fight. Pacquiao, if you listen to his post-fight, for some reason with the contract, he didn't get to wear his puncher's gloves. He was like, I like to wear my clitoris. Clitoris. It sounded like he said clitoris. He didn't get his gloves because of his promoter or something. So, and Morales barely won that. I think he won a split decision or something like that. And some people even thought Pacquiao should have won that. And then he got stopped by Pacquiao twice or whatever. So, I mean, realistically, like I said, Pacquiao's a great fighter, but Pacquiao stylistically feeds more into Erik Morales, because you can use, if you're a good boxer and you have some power, you could use Pacquiao's come forward aggression and recklessness, because he was definitely reckless at that time in terms of how it worked for him, but he was still reckless, like jumping in and stuff like that. You could use it against him. Floyd doesn't do all that. Floyd is more technical, so the openings wouldn't be there. There's no one on this planet, unless you're super biased, that believes Pacquiao has a better defense than Floyd Mayweather. So again, you can't really even compare the Pacquiao fight, because Pacquiao was a phenom back then, but his fight, he was able to outbox Pacquiao. That has nothing to do with Floyd, because Floyd is more conservative than Pacquiao, and he makes less mistakes than Pacquiao. He has a better defense than Pacquiao. He's not going to just jump into shots like Pacquiao was doing at that time. You know what I mean? So, totally different fight. Floyd would outclass, possibly stop Erik Morales, in my opinion. Next question, the Secular Terrier. Oh yeah, another quick question. Eddie Hearn just sent out a tweet saying he offered a lot of money to Wilder to fight White. I'm sure he has a mandatory obligation though, but how do you feel that fight plays out? I would like to see it. Let's see it. I mean, his mandatory, I talked to Bermain Stavern 2 days ago, and he says he's the mandatory, so Wilder may not have a choice but to rematch Bermain Stavern, and that's just might be the next order of business. The Dillion White fight, I personally don't mind it, but also at the same time, all the people who are downtrodden on Wilder, I really don't think they'll give him credit, even if he knocks out White, because they'll say, oh, that's Anthony Joshua's leftovers. I thought he lost to Chisora, and things like that. You know what I mean? So I don't truly think he'll get credit. I personally like the fight because I think Dillion White is a solid fighter and a formidable test. You know what I mean? But I don't think Wilder would get credit. But I mean, money talks. So if Eddie Hearn can make it work and the winner face Bermain Stavern, or they can figure it out with the WBC, let's see it. How does it play out? I would favor Wilder. I think Wilder just strong, and I mean, we've seen Dillion White hurt. I mean, I've seen Wilder hurt too, but Wilder would have the height advantage. He has the power advantage, and I think Dillion White got gassed in the Derek Chisora fight, and he looked hurt in that fight too. And Derek Chisora is a guy who lost to Tyson Fury, and I don't think is as fresh. He lost to David Haye. I don't think he's as fresh as Wilder. So I think Wilder would get to Dillion White. Next question, Moises Segovia. Yo, Ego, what's next for Andre Ward after beating Kovalev? Should he move to cruiserweight? And if he does move, who should he fight? Thanks. I'm not his trainer. Like Virgil Hunter said, he should fight Anthony Joshua and stuff. That's something they got to decide. But I don't think he has to move. Like, I mean, that's kind of what's wrong with boxing. People are starting to treat boxing like purely business and just making these radical moves. Like Terrence Crawford, he needs to move up to welterweight. Now, don't get me wrong. I would love to see him move up to welterweight at some point, fight Errol Spence, fight Danny Garcia, you know what I mean? Things like that. But I don't think there should be a real rush. Now, Pacquiao, that one makes sense because they're both on the same side. That's a guaranteed fight that they can make because Bob Arum has expressed interest in that. But if he moves up to welterweight, there's no guarantee that he's fought Al Haymon fighters in his last two fights. He fought against John Molina Jr., Al Haymon advised, and he also fought against Felix Diaz. But the difference is those two fighters are lower on the totem pole and not like the bigger stars. So there's no guarantee he can get the big names at this point and let him like unify and try to become undisputed. Everyone wants to see these fighters move up. I even said the same thing for Vasily Lomachenko. He's talking about fighting Crawford at 140. That's stupid. Crawford would dust him. I think Crawford would dust Lomachenko off. And I think Lomachenko's a great fighter, but his own trainer said that would be suicide. It's a suicide mission. Suicide? It's a suicide. That would be stupid. Even a Mikey Garcia fight at 35, I would watch it for sure, but I don't think they should rush into these things. So same thing with Ward. I don't think he needs to rush to cruiserweight. He just barely got to light heavyweight. He got 3 fights. He has Sullivan Barrera, Alexander Brand, who's not really a permanent 175 pounder, and 2 Kovalev fights. So he really has like 3.5 light heavyweight fights. And then people are always talking about him moving up. So I don't think he has to move up. I think he's earned his stripes, so he can do whatever he wants. If he wants to take a tune-up to defend his belts, if he wants to retire, if he wants to move up, then that's cool. If he wants something to prove to himself, or you know what I mean, if he can get a big money fight with another guy, then let's see that. But I think he's really ultimately deserved the right to decide what he wants to do. You know what I mean? He stuck around, said he wasn't retiring to give Kovalev a rematch, and then he ended up stopping him. He's the man now. Next question, Nick Heffman. Ego, what do you think should be next for Rigo? Personally, it doesn't look like the man has lost a step, though he did only fight for 1 round. Who can compete with Rigo? Keep up the garlic butter, thanks. I mean, I don't really see anyone fucking with Rigondeaux. That's just what it is. Anyone in or around his division. Chocolatito, if he moved up, he would get destroyed. The only person out there that would possibly be a good fight would be the Lomachenko. They have similar amateur pedigrees and gold medals and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's it. And Lomachenko would be the much bigger guy. So that's kind of what makes it interesting. If they were both naturally the same height and build and stuff like that, then I would easily favor Rigondeaux. So kind of just depends on what weight that fight would happen at. So Rigondeaux, I just want to see him in the mix with the big guys. He might have to fight someone at 126. Abner Mares, Leo Santa Cruz, Oscar Valdez, Jesse Magdaleno called him out, Gary Russell. So hopefully he just gets a big fight like that. Next question is from Hamoud Ali. What up, Ego? Keep grinding, brother. Thank you. What do you think? Who do you think Rigondeaux should fight next, or do you think he should move up to 126? He says he's down to move up to 126. I just interviewed him for the Ward Kovalev week when I was out in Vegas. So if he's open to it and he can make weight or whatever, then maybe that's what he has to do, because I don't really see anyone that's jumping the gun to fight him. So if he can get Carl Frampton, Scott Quick, any of them dudes, any guy with a big name and somewhat of a fan base, I want to see it. Next question, Ernesto Vasquez. Out of all 4 champions in 126, who would give Rigondeaux the most problems, more problems? That's a good question. It would have to be someone who's like significantly bigger than him and powerful. I would probably say like maybe like a Gary Russell Jr., because he also has speed, he has power, and he's going to be bigger than Rigondeaux, and he's rhythmic. You know what I mean? So I would say someone like a Gary Russell Jr. Oscar Valdez possibly would be a good fight, but I don't know. I would say Gary Russell. I think Gary Russell's kind of the man to beat there. Next question, Smitty Smith. Ego, the true boxing god and boxing information on the planet. Thank you. So who do you got, bro? Fight to the finish, Errol Spence Jr. or Keith One-Time Thurman, and why? And I've already made myself vocal about this. Maybe you missed those videos or live streams where I talked about it. I would pick Errol Spence Jr. I mean, I'm not saying it's a give me runaway fight where Thurman doesn't have a shot. Obviously, he's explosive, he has power, but it's a fight. It's a scrap. There can be only one on some Highlander shit. So I would favor Errol Spence Jr. Why? One of the main reasons, and I'm not going to give too many reasons, because if they actually do fight, then that takes away from my 7 reasons, which takes away from my money. But body shots would be a big one. I think Keith Thurman gains a lot of weight in his off season. Errol Spence, I just seen him last week, a couple days ago. He's still in shape. You know what I mean? He's not putting on massive amounts of weight. Keith Thurman does not like that body work. Just like you've seen Ward dogging Kovalev to the body and got him to quit. Now you have to keep in mind that Ward is a guy who moved up to light heavyweight, right? He only had, prior to that, he had like 3 fights, 2.5 fights or whatever at the division. And he wasn't even the most notorious light heavyweight puncher. Still broke Kovalev down. So you don't have to have the most like power for good body work. You know what I mean? You could be a solid puncher and systematically break someone's will down. But Errol Spence, on the other hand, he actually has power, and he has that same type of pressure, you know what I mean, where he puts a investment to the body. So I think that's one of the main ingredients to beat a guy like Keith Thurman. Especially, see, like people keep thinking Keith Thurman is going to just pop in and out and move. See, he does do that, and I think he would try to do that with Errol Spence, but it's almost, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but there's not too many guys in this boxing game that I think could do 15 rounders and be real cool in those last 3 rounds. Floyd Mayweather is like one of the only people that I can think of where I know for a fact if it went 15 rounds, he's defensively responsible enough and he's damn well conditioned enough to go extra rounds like that. So Keith Thurman and other guys like that, I really don't think that. And it's not about 15 rounders because we don't have them. But I'm just saying Keith Thurman, he seems to fade sometimes. Like he couldn't figure out Bundu, the Danny Garcia fight. He didn't use the same in and out movement as much. He didn't look as fresh doing it later. He just used a lot of movement to the point where Danny Garcia couldn't even track him down. Like he just kept enough distance. But Errol's much better than Danny Garcia at cutting off the ring. And he's naturally a welterweight, and he's a big welterweight. So Errol Spence is going to make that ring smaller and smaller, and you're going to have to fight him. You know what I mean? And especially if you've been using a ton of movement. Like I said, the Danny Garcia is not a good fight. It's not a good comparison to Errol Spence and Thurman because, like I said, Danny Garcia is slow. He relies on timing, and he does better when guys come at him. And you've seen Thurman get kind of evasive. He just created too much space and movement. And Danny Garcia, he likes to use your aggression against you. But see, the reason why when Keith Thurman was aggressive, Keith Thurman had a good game plan because he came out aggressive. Danny Garcia is also a guy who's not the fastest, so speed can bother him until he lands the timing. But if you jump on him like Keith Thurman did, show him some power, make him a bit gun shy, and then do the movement, that's why Keith Thurman won. Had Keith Thurman did that in reverse, started off that slow, and then got aggressive, then he probably would have got hurt in that fight because Garcia would have had time to make the adjustment. So you got to give props to Thurman for that. Had Thurman, like I said, boxing is scientific. Had Thurman done the reversal of what he did, like start off super slow, and Danny Garcia was able to get a read on him or like judge the distance Thurman likes to fight from and come in at and stuff like that, and then he tried to get super aggressive towards the end, just simply flip-flopping that game plan, it could have had a different outcome. You know what I mean? So that's just my thoughts on it. I think Spence would win, and that's what I would lean towards. Next question, Duwan Taylor, Boxingego. What do you think about Errol Spence Jr. facing Shawn Porter? Keith Thurman's mandatory, and also why don't you think HBO is not forcing Lomachenko, Chocolatito, or Golovkin to move up in weight like they forced Andre Ward to move up to light heavyweight? And I don't know. I don't work for HBO, so I can't really tell you what they're thinking, but it's all politics. They seem to be infatuated and love Lomachenko, Chocolatito, and Golovkin and think those are the only styles that the fans want to see, and those are the real cash cows and stuff. And you truth be told, people, if you do the numbers, they're not even doing no crazy numbers. Like if you compare Golovkin's numbers on regular HBO to what Andre Ward was doing before he went inactive and had legal trouble and injuries and stuff, Golovkin wasn't doing crazy amounts of numbers. Like, you know what I mean? They were both in the million. They were both doing $1 million plus. Chad Dawson and Ward, or Ward, Edwin Rodriguez, they were doing similar numbers. You look at Lomachenko, they were acting like he was this massive A-side over Nicholas Walters. And you look at Nicholas Walters versus Jason Sosa, or you look at Vasil Lomachenko and Rocky Martinez, and they were doing about the same amount of homes, 600,000 or so. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. HBO just thinks that they know what they're doing when it comes to boxing, and they do in terms of video production, but they clearly don't know. They overvalue certain fighters and undervalue others. Terrence Crawford is a gem. You got Crawford on your network. I would be promoting the hell out of him, and they don't. But they promote the hell out of Lomachenko, Chocolatito, who just got his beat up, and before that his eyes got swollen. They just promoted the hell out of Golovkin, keep putting him on pay-per-view, and he keeps flopping. The only time he's going to do a good pay-per-view is with Canelo, another big name who's a bigger name than him. So I don't know. I don't know why they only want to force Andre Ward. You know what I mean? Like I said, I think they think Ward isn't expendable, and maybe they wanted to use him as an example. Like they thought Kovalev would probably beat him. You know what I mean? So like he was the sacrificial lamb, but Ward having the tenacity, he did what HBO, the network wanted, what the fans wanted, moved up, and then he beat Kovalev, and then he beat him again and beat him into submission. So it actually backfired on HBO. But that's what I think. They probably thought that could build Kovalev's fan base because he'll knock out Ward. Ward would be at a deficit, but Ward being a true champion, he was like, nah, I got other plans. And he prepared for the moment, had a close first fight, and then he made it decisive the second time. So it is what it is. First part of your question, Errol Spence facing Shawn Porter. I love it. They're friends, they're cool, but Porter's already fought a friend before, and Keith Thurman and Broner, stuff like that. So they would probably fight. I don't know how. I don't think it's logical though. I don't think they would fight because Porter's #1 with the WBC to fight Keith Thurman, a guy who he sparred before, and I think he sparred Errol Spence too, but he sparred him and had a pro fight with, and that's the fight he's been calling for. So you know Keith Thurman's style probably all too well versus Errol Spence. Whenever they sparred versus Errol Spence now, it's different. Errol Spence is now a champion, right? When they sparred, he wasn't a champion. So Shawn Porter fought Keith Thurman when he was a champion, things like that. So those are difference makers. So I really see Porter's team. Why lose your spot in line with the WBC? You just fought Berto in an eliminator for the WBC to get a Keith Thurman mandatory rematch. So you're going to hop out of line to fight another young killer, Errol Spence. And if you lose, then you lose your spot with the WBC. You know what I mean? Especially if you lose to Errol Spence in a bad fashion, if that happens. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make, from a business perspective, I don't think it really makes sense when he could fight the guy he's more familiar with that will generate him more money, because the first Porter Thurman, you already have a backstory because they've already fought. And Thurman he's probably been televised a bit more than Errol Spence on main events. So his name might be a little bit bigger at the moment. So he could fight Thurman, and if he beats him, then try to unify with Errol Spence. So from the business standpoint, I don't think the fight would happen next. I think, you know what I mean, from a business, it doesn't make sense for Porter to lose his. Why did he even fight Berto in the eliminator if he's just going to hop out of line to fight Errol Spence for a completely different IBF belt? So as much as I love the fight, I don't see it being realistic for next, if that makes sense. Next question, Marcus Daly. Yo, Ego, what reasons could you have, if any, for putting Loma or Triple G over Ward on the pound-for-pound list? He's accomplished so much in different weight divisions, fighting the best. How can fighters without his resume be over him? I mean, that's just clown shit if you have that. You're just clearly, you don't want to give Ward credit, or you want to think of some bullshit. Oh, Chad Dawson, he was weight drained, and Kovalev low blows. You're just looking for reasons to think about some reason to keep Ward off the list because you're biased. But, I mean, we all know what it is. Lomachenko or Triple G. I mean, definitely Lomachenko. I mean, at least Triple G has more than 30 fights or whatever, and he just fought Daniel Jacobs and won. But Lomachenko, you only got 9 fights, man, and a loss at that. So you've not done anything like the Super 6. You don't have any Chad Dawsons on your resume. You don't have any, you know what I mean? Chad Dawson just beat Bernard Hopkins and is way bigger than Andre Ward and is a talented, skilled boxer, especially at that time. This is before the Adonis Stevenson knockout and stuff like that. So who's Lomachenko fought that was like massively bigger, good power, incredible boxing skills, great jab? Name Lomachenko's Chad Dawson. You know what I mean? You couldn't even beat Salido, who is a guy with double-digit losses. So yeah, I mean, they're definitely not over Ward unless you're on some hating stuff. Next question, Benjamin Franklin. Sup, Ego? You're doing a great job, bro. I thought it was a terrible stoppage by the ref, but Ward was gonna stop him anyway. He is better fighter overall, and Ward is pound for pound number 1, no doubt about it. Anyway, what are your thoughts on the ref? And do you think Kovalev deserves at least a count before getting stopped like that? What's your thoughts on Tony Weeks' tweets later that night? Tony Weeks _ I stopped the fight due to Kovalev not protecting himself. Had I saw the shots were low, I wouldn't stop the fight. My mistake. I mean, like I said, that the more I seen the tweet earlier, someone had the screenshot on Instagram, but that now just reading it, just the text, that doesn't sound like it's a real page. My mistake. What referee is gonna say, oh, I stopped it because of this? My bad. That doesn't even say, it makes it sound fake. So again, if it's not verified, I ain't seen Tony Weeks on tape saying that's him and that's his real account. This shit got like 1,000 subscribers or something. So I don't know who that is. I can't confirm that. So I'm not even gonna waste too much time talking about, you know what I mean, some fake account. I got fake accounts about me and saying it's Boxingego and Ego's World and all this, and it's not me. So I'm not really worried about that until I hear Tony Weeks come out on tape, you know what I mean, where it's like I can see it, something that's tangible, like, okay, he really did say that. So that's that. And I mean, a lot of people are saying stuff like that, oh, it was inevitable, but it was a terrible stoppage, so there's nothing to cry about. If people think it's inevitable and Kovalev looked flat and gassed out and it was going to happen anyway, you just want to see it, you know what I mean? The man was tapped out. He was done for. And unless he had some Captain America Secret Soldier serum or something, he looked like it wasn't getting any better any quicker. So it is what it is. As far as the ref, I mean, I don't think Tony Weeks did a horrible job. I mean, the stoppage, you can nitpick it, but the fact of the matter is, like I said in my video, the realest Ward Kovalev 2 breakdown, why is the Crusher even in a position where we're even talking about a stoppage? You're the Crusher. You're the known threat. You're the known puncher. You're slightly taller than Ward. You are the guy who's notoriously stronger in the knockout artist. Why are we even talking about a stoppage? You said Ward hits like a girl. You get what I'm saying? Like, you said he hits like a 15-year-old girl. So the fact that we're even debating on if it was a rightful stoppage, that goes to show me that Ward must have been doing something in there, because you got a man who just 19 days ago said Ward slaps and hits like a little 15-year-old girl. But now we're arguing about if the ref made the right judgment call in the stoppage. Why are you even talking about stoppage? Like, I've never seen Floyd Mayweather stopped. You know what I mean? I've never seen the referee accidentally stop Floyd, because Floyd is smart. When Shane Mosley, oh shit, Shane Mosley hurt him, he clinched, he knew what to do to survive, right? And that's what it is. Kovalev being too prideful, whatever, didn't want to get knocked down, didn't want to take a knee, and too many unanswered punches on the belt line. Some were clean. He was bending over, like, completely defensive, and he got what he got. So it's like, I really have no mercy for the situation. You know what I mean? Fans are really trying to create this controversy knowing the man was flat and he got hit with the shot upstairs. So why is he even hurt with the shot upstairs? I thought Ward hits like a girl, you know what I mean? And people are really have the audacity to try to nitpick if it was a rightful stoppage. Why are we even talking about Kovalev getting stopped when you said Ward had no power? This does not make sense to me. So that's my thoughts. I mean, Tony Weeks did a solid job. I mean, there was a couple things that he could have did different. I think sometimes refs get it wrong in terms of they interject when they don't need to, and then when they do need to, they're not interjecting. So I noticed some points like that where they were clinching, he would break them up real quick and it wasn't that serious. And there's other times where he should have broke them up and he didn't. Little things like that. But all in all, Kovalev was the one that made the vital mistake, crying to the ref and thinking the ref was going to save him instead of fighting. And his conditioning clearly was not up to par where it needed to be. So like most people are saying, it looked like the end was near, regardless of Tony Weeks. You can try to, oh, it's Tony Weeks, it's flat top, man, and try to blame it on. I blame Kovalev. He's the fighter. You got to fight your way out of it, and you got to be smart. If a guy's pummeling you, and the punches even, you know what I mean, it's all perception. So if it looks like he's destroying you, and you're crouched over, and your body language looks foul, and you're falling into the ropes, and you're not throwing punches back, and then when you're wildly missing, then it's going to get stopped. This is common sense. So if you don't know how to survive and know what to do, then that's your fault. It's not Tony Weeks' fault. It's not Rock Nation's fault. None of the stupid shit some of y'all are saying. Next question, King Kunta. Ego, it's been a minute. Who do you think are real possible matchups for Errol Spence Jr.? And did you ask Errol Spence Jr. about Troy King hate? Yeah, I did. Actually, Errol Spence came up when I ran into him. He said, "Hey, what's up, man? What's up?" And then we took a picture and talked. First thing he asked me was like, "Man, who's this Troy King dude that you keep interviewing? Why is he talking bad about me?" So yeah, the video will be up. Y'all will see. I talked to him off the camera, and then I talked to him on the camera. But he brought it up to me, so obviously it got back to him, and I talked to Troy King. So just to be transparent, I told Troy King, like, I haven't put up the interview, but I told him what me and Troy. I'm not in it. This is what you guys got to understand too, is I'm a businessman. I got an opinion, and I'm only accountable for what I say. You know what I mean? Like, everyone else is entitled to their opinion. This is like not a free platform. Like, we still talk with respect and stuff like that. But I don't really censor people and say, hey, you can't criticize this fighter, or you can't, you know what I mean? People can give their opinion. That doesn't mean I agree with it. And like I said, I say what I feel about each fighter. So yeah, we did talk about it, to make a long story short. First part of your question, Errol Spence, I don't know. I think he should just take a solid guy. I think a good fight for him would be Diego Chavez. Great barometer fight. Have a hometown Dallas fight against a guy I thought he was easily beating Brandon Rios in that fight before he got disqualified. He gave Tim Bradley a hell of a fight. He gave Keith Thurman some work, and he made Keith Thurman adjust. So I think that's a great fight for him. Have that in Dallas or something like that. I'm not going to be overzealous to say Danny Garcia or Keith Thurman. Of course, I want to see those fights, but I don't see it being realistic. Keith Thurman is coming off of an injury, and he has to recover. So I don't really see his first fight back, fighting Errol Spence. And Errol Spence saying he want to fight in the fall, September or so. So that's my thoughts. Wow. Next question, the sleeping senator of the islands. Ego, do you think Kovalev is mentally weak? Also, do you think Triple G will be next to taste defeat? Also, do you think... Damn, that's a lot of questions. Also, do you think Lomachenko is afraid of Rigondeaux, especially after Rigo stopped that guy? I don't know. I don't really like to say the fighters are scared and stuff. Like, I mean, there's certain instances that are clear instances of ducking, but Lomachenko hasn't really come across as a guy who's just like overall like shaking in his boots type stuff. So I can't say he's deathly afraid, but you know what I mean, he might want to have advantages over a guy like Rigondeaux, like, oh, come up to 130, knowing he'll be the bigger man. So that's what it is. I just want to see it. Like Roy Jones, I interviewed him, asked him about it, and he said, why didn't we get to see that fight? Why? And that's a great fight, and that's a great question. Triple G, will he taste defeat next? I told you all I'm leaning towards Canelo, so I think it's possible. It's not an easy fight for Canelo, but I'm rocking with Canelo, I believe. Unless I see something that makes me change it last minute, but it's just leaning towards Canelo. The first part of your question, do you think Kovalev is mentally weak? I don't know. It's hard to say that because it's kind of loaded. Because you can easily say he looked mentally weak in the build-up of this fight and in this fight, but overall, career-wise, he hasn't looked mentally weak. He challenged Bernard Hopkins and did great with him, so I can't say he's overall mentally weak because I haven't seen a pattern in it. But I mean, in the Ward fight, he did come across as mentally weak in the build-up, and it's just because he was overcompensating. He was putting a lot of pressure on himself. Oh, I promise everybody, Ward piece of shit, I'll end his boxing career. You can't. You talk all that. You gotta own up to that and make good with those promises. You know what I mean? And I would say this for anyone. I said this for Broner when he lost to Chino. He was like, McDonough, he acting like he don't speak English, but after this ass beating, he gonna speak some English, and then you got whooped. You can't do that. So I don't know. I can't say Kovalev's mentally weak, but he came into this fight mentally weak for sure. because, like I said, he was doing a lot of talking and memes and all this extra stuff, and then he just ended up getting stopped. Next question, Jamie McDonald. What's happening, Ego? Good look in Vegas. Nice coverage. Thank you. But do you think Kovalev should have been given a count before the stoppage? Again, I'm going to keep saying this. I said it in the Reels breakdown. I said it in parts of this video. This is Kovalev's fault. His conditioning looks suspect. He was hurt. He won't admit he was hurt. He seemed like he was being too prideful. And in situations like that, you have to have a strong clinch. Your clinch game has to be accurate. He was so low energy that he could barely clinch. There was a time where he tried to reach out and clinch Andre Ward, and Andre Ward was like, nah, get off me, and then still kept raking his body and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Seizing the moment, seeing his man was hurt. You have to take a knee. You got to do something. You got to be smart. Otherwise, this is your fault. Julian J. Rock Williams versus Jermall Charlo. Very similar situation, in my opinion, in the sense of the uppercut, counter uppercut rocked J. Rock, and he tried to get back up and fight. You can't. You're not in any shape to be fighting right there. You got to clinch for dear life, i.e. Floyd versus Mosley. You got to take a knee. You got to do something. Otherwise, you're out of there. Because if you go back and watch the fight, see, I know my boxing. Go back and watch that J. Rock Williams fight and Charlo. After that first counter uppercut that really rocked J. Rock, he just put some punches together and he just fell over. Like, he didn't even really hit him with nothing crazy or super clean. So it's really the fighter. If you don't know what to do in those situations, and I'm telling you, bullies don't like to get bullied. Kovalev doesn't know what to do in those situations. You know what I'm saying? He's used to not being the person who's retreating for large chunks of any round. He's usually the one pressing the action. You know what I mean? And people respect him. Like Blake Caparello knocked him down, right? And he got back up. Darnell Boone knocked him out and he got back up. But they pay him still more respect. Ward's he's not there. I told y'all before. Ward has dog in him. And people are, oh, you're just saying that, you're from the Bay. Whatever. And then now you've seen it. Ward's gonna jump on you. He's not gonna like let you breathe. He knows you're hurt. Just like he did with Chad Dawson. This is just what it is. Ward, he gets it done. That's just what it is. So I don't blame Tony Weeks for the stoppage. I blame Kovalev because he doesn't know what to do when he's hurt, because he's not used to being hurt. He's not used to being, and even when he is hurt, he's not used to somebody like pressing the issue, because they still respect Kovalev's power. Jean Pascal hurt Kovalev, but he didn't jump on Kovalev because he himself was getting hurt in there. Pascal was getting hurt versus Kovalev. So, I mean, Ward, he stood up to the bully and he came out. So I don't really, it wouldn't have been nothing to, if he wanted to ensure his count, he should have took a knee, because there's no ref in town that is not going to give you a count when you take a knee. You can't hit the person when they're down and they took a knee. Kell Brook happened with Errol Spence. Errol Spence started dogging Kell Brook. He took a knee the first time and he got the count. So if you're on the ropes languishing and your body's folded over, you look at fetal position and it appears like Ward is wrecking you and you're just spilling over and you're this known crusher and you're just falling all over the place, you're gonna get stopped. These are simple, very, very basic elements of boxing. You have to know what to do in those moments. Just like when you're in elementary school, or at least in my elementary school, they would have these fire drills where everyone had to go outside, or people have to, bomb drills, you have to hide on your desk. And I don't know what that's really going to do. If an atomic bomb went off and you're under a desk, that's not really going to, I guess if the ceiling starts falling or something. But bottom line, that's what those types of drills are for, is to prepare you, ready you for those moments. And unfortunately, a lot of guys don't practice that. Kovalev's not used to having to practice that. He thought Ward, I told y'all, this is totally Kovalev's fault, totally his fault, because he also said, Kovalev said that Ward hits like a 15-year-old girl. He did not believe that Ward can get him in any predicament to hurt him, because he might not have been badly hurt, even though I think he was. I don't know about badly, but I think he was hurt to a degree in the first fight. But he thought Ward couldn't, that was the best Ward had. You know what I mean? And Ward showed there's more to this game. There's more shades of what I can do. And that's his fault. He underestimated Ward. He came in with all this angst, and he wrote a check his ass couldn't cash. That's simple boxing. You got to know what to do. You got to know what to do when you're hurt. Instead of, you can't give it the appearance of somebody wrecking you and you're doing nothing. It's gonna get stopped. That's what it is. Like, even if the punches aren't all landing flush, it's like, oh shit, he's badly hurt. We all seen that. And then you're just running around and your hands are low. I mean, you're gonna get stopped. So blame Kovalev. Next question, West P. Does Ward remain a pay-per-view fighter after Kovalev? For Kovalev, was this a death blow to his career, or you see him coming back? Hard to answer. Ward, he has flexibility. He can go to regular HBO. Gennady Golovkin had a pay-per-view, and then he went back to regular HBO. Ward can do the same thing. Because, I mean, unless he's fighting the right dance partner, and depending on what the numbers for Ward Kovalev 2 are, pay-per-view may or may not make sense. Because he just fought the best guy in the division in Kovalev and stopped him. So, if he fights a Joe Smith Jr., that's not really a pay-per-view outing. You know what I mean? So, just depends. But I think he has flexibility if it's a right fight. If Golovkin, let's say Golovkin beats Canelo and wants to move up and fight Ward, then something like that would be pay-per-view. But if it's not the right dance partner, I think it'd be on regular HBO. And I don't know if it's a death blow to Kovalev's career. I've seen both things happen. I definitely think it's a possibility. On some Kelly Pavlik shit. Kelly Pavlik, another puncher who got his soul ripped out by Bernard Hopkins. Shout out to the legend B-Hop. He never really looked the same after that. Sergio Martinez later dogged him. Rigondeaux took Donaire's soul. We don't know. You know what I mean? Because that, I'm telling you, that's the thing with the bullies. When that aura of invincibility is gone, what do you have? What do you have left to turn to? Like, even though you have skills, Kovalev can box. He has skill, but part of his skill was the crusher. Even the name, you're the crusher, but you got crushed. You know what I mean? So that all that stuff can damage you because he's never been stopped, let alone had a loss. He had a loss to Ward, but he never had a loss like that. You know what I mean? Because his only loss was to Ward, and it was disputed. I'm talking about as a pro. And a lot of people were on his side saying, oh, you beat Ward, you beat Ward. So, you know what I mean? That didn't really probably damage his confidence. This will. And the thing is, you can cry foul and low blow and all that. But see, this is the thing. It's kind of like, let's say there's a YouTuber who's buying subscribers, right? And they show this, they're like, man, I got 4 billion subscribers. But if you know you bought 4 billion subscribers and you really only have 50, then it looks cool to the naked eye. Like, oh, okay. But your money's not going to be impacted by that. YouTube won't pay you based on your subscribers, right? And in your heart of all hearts, you know what it was. And that's the thing with like a lie or throwing out these little excuses and stuff. Kovalev at the end of the day knows what it was in his heart of all hearts. He knows he was tired, he was gassed, he was losing, he got the wind knocked out of his sails, and he knows that. So you could say whatever, low blows at the press conference. Even looking at the press conference, I was at both fights. Kovalev's face didn't look really bad in the first fight at the press conference, but you seen reddening, you seen he had a black eye forming. I seen him post a picture on his page after, and he had glasses on. That wasn't the case in the first fight. So ultimately, you know, and like I said, with the YouTube fake subscribers and people that or Instagram followers, they buy, and it shows they have 2 million Instagram followers. That's cool, but that's not really what you have. Your comments don't support that. Your likes don't support that. Your paychecks don't support that. So you're only lying to yourself. You know what I mean? And that's what it is when it comes to Kovalev. So he can throw out, low blow and Tony Weeks and all this stuff, but in his heart of all hearts, he knows he was tired in there, and he knows how he felt. So you can deceive the public, but you can't deceive your ego. No pun intended. Next question, Dana ID Matthews. Hey, Boxingego. I recently had my first amateur fight on June 5th. Congratulations. I won, and the fight received Fight of the Night honors. Dope. I give credit to this channel for helping me learn about all aspects of boxing without bias. Well, thank you. Thank you humbly. I have 3 questions. I have a knee issue similar to Ward's and was forced to cancel a potential fight on the 24th of this month due to it. 1, how big of a difference did Ward's added movement make to the fight? 2, does ending too many fights with early to mid-round KOs have an automatic downfall in the stamina category, or is there a way to achieve 12-round stamina regardless? 3rd, how much of a handicap does winning the mental game before the fight add to the fight itself? Thank you. Those are real good questions, and congrats on your amateur fight. Number 1, how big of a difference Ward's added movement make in this fight? It is huge difference, because he created more of a moving target. He wasn't knocked down in this fight, so Kovalev didn't get that early gratification like he had in the first fight, and it was just, he gave him different looks, and that was very important, because the second fight, there's not really many people, unless you're super biased, that can doubt that overall Ward's game plan, his timing, his defense, everything looked better in this fight than the first fight. You know what I mean? Even though I had him winning the first fight, I thought the first fight was extremely close. You know what I mean? So the movement was just part of the setup to breaking him down, because Ward was just moving, standing his ground in spots. It's just kind of like what Floyd does. It gives you so many different looks. You don't know what aspect, you know what I mean? Okay, he's going to stand his ground. Oh, bow, I'm getting hit. Then he's on the move and he's still hitting me. Oh, fuck. You know what I mean? Then I'm trying to hit him against the ropes. I can't hit him. His defense is too tight. You know what I mean? So he's just giving him multiple looks. 2, does ending too many fights with early to mid-round KOs have an automatic downfall in the stamina category? Yeah, I mean, because you notice Joshua, the knockout artist, he struggled with Klitschko more so than anybody else, right? He doesn't really go that many rounds. There's no substitute for experience. You know what I mean? And it's important. Like Wilder going the distance with Thurman, that was important for his career. That helps his career, because it shows him he can go 12 if need be against a great fighter like Thurman. That dude's big too. I just seen him, interviewed him the other day. So you can't duplicate. There's certain things you can, like, it's like running on a treadmill versus running outdoors. Treadmill will give you could burn calories on it, but it can't replicate actually being outside and having obstacles like rocks and gravel and cars coming and crosswalks. A treadmill doesn't duplicate all of that. And if you have a bunch of knockouts in the first, second, third round, fourth round, or whatever, then you can't automatically get the sensation of going 12 rounds when you're not going 12 rounds. That's why you never know, you know what I mean? And I know a lot of people like that turn pro and they start off with 4-rounders, 6-rounders, then 8-rounders or whatever. They have to build up to it. And they tell me, you notice the difference, 4 rounds versus 8. That's, you just doubled the amount of rounds you're fighting. So yeah, you got to get the experience in. And sparring, you can spar 10, 20-minute rounds. It don't matter. It's not the same as a pro fight. And the final question, how much of a handicap does winning the mental game before the fight add to the fight? I'm a big believer in the psychological aspect in boxing. So I think that's a great starting point for everyone. Not always. It doesn't always like equate. Some guys try to do it, but some guys aren't effective with it. Some guys try to get in someone's head, but it's not really working and they get whooped or whatever. But if you can do it successfully, like a Mayweather, like Ward's team did, I think they did a great job of like putting the vodka stuff out there that they heard, putting the John David Jackson, that was messing up the camp. You know what I mean? You can say whatever you want, but how would you feel if someone was supposed to be on your side and then you got word that they were trying to cross over to the other side of who you're about to fight? You know what I'm saying? You're like, what the hell? You know what I mean? So they can deny it and say whatever, but I wouldn't be surprised if John David Jackson no longer works with them shortly after this or immediately after this. He might not have a job with them anymore. It seems like there's been some issues there anyway. And it would look bad if he would have just stopped fighting or stopped training Kovalev midway, then Ward's team kind of won. So, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if John David Jackson is not there much longer. Next question, Taylor Bush. Do you think Kovalev whining throughout the fight about shots that were not low, contributed to his claims not being taken seriously after the fight? Also, in your opinion, were the final shots low? And like I said, I dropped 2 lengthy videos on this, the realest breakdown. Check those out. The shot was belt line, so you guys got to understand. People keep saying a low blow. A low blow is usually a nut shot. That's what people hitting on the belt line is legal. And again, some people have their trunks up higher, stuff like that. Sometimes it shifts as you're fighting, your shorts right up or whatever. So that's what it is. Kovalev was just gassed. He got the fight and the wheel broke out of him and he had nowhere to go. He had nowhere to buy time, and Andre Ward is not going to allow you to buy time. And Ward's a pro through in and throughout. That's what it is. So were the final shots low? They were lower than the abdomen, but they weren't nut shots. You know what I mean? They were on the belt line. And once again, it's because Kovalev was folded up trying to defend and not throw punches. If he stood straight up, he would have got the blunt of those shots and he would have got stopped that way, because he would have been an open target. And Kovalev is not, see, this is the other thing you guys gotta understand. Kovalev is not this defensive wizard. He's not really known for that. You know what I mean? Part of his defense is the fact that his offense is so good and that his power is so threatening, similar to Golovkin. You know what I mean? They're not known for like doing some Pernell Whitaker, Mayweather tricky moves. Like I've seen Mayweather, like watch the Guerrero fight or the Berto fight. He's landing 2 and then immediately the opponent tries to counter and he's barely missing it, and the opponent is miffing, like Canelo and Mayweather. Canelo's barely whizzing by him with shots based on how good his defense is. He can see that shit. Kovalev's not really known for some impeccable defense. So again, that's how he has to survive. He's too prideful to take a knee, and he doesn't really have the defense, so he just crouches down and just tries to absorb the least amount of punishment. So it is what it is. And yeah, the whining, we already talked about that. You're a pro fighter. It's a fight. You're the bully. You're the power guy. You're the crusher. You said you're going to end his boxing career. So at the end of the day, do that. You got to do that. You can't look for the ref for closure and to call the shots you want to call. It doesn't happen like that. I mean, it's no different in any sport, really. You're watching the NBA finals. Sometimes they fuck up calls. Sometimes the referee will be like, what? They'll say that's a foul, and it really wasn't a foul. They'll say it was goaltending, or whatever the situation is. Sometimes calls get messed up. But at the end of the day, if you're LeBron, you're the Warriors, you got to work through that. It's really with any sports. You know what I mean? Not all the calls, even if you want to go out, if you want to go that route and say like, oh, the call, it was the call. This happens in all sports. Not all the calls are going to be perfect, because nobody's perfect and they're all man-made. You know what I mean? These are referees or umpires or whatever, and they're the ones in charge calling the shots and officiating the game. So at the end of the day, if you gotta you gotta work through your adversity, whether it's the referees or bad officiating. And you can't, in boxing especially, it's a fight game. You gotta protect yourself at all times. You can't be, hey ref, help me. You know what I mean? I've seen guys who had to fight for 2 minutes of a round with no mouthpiece or something, because the ref has not, for whatever reason, decided to break, and the guy sees that you have no mouthpiece and he's coming at you like a fucking tornado. You know what I mean? No one wants to get their teeth knocked out that I know of, like James DeGale. You know what I mean? No one's trying to have that happen. But you gotta, what are you gonna do? You have to keep fighting until the ref breaks you to the point where you can get a mouthpiece. You can't be like, oh, I had no mouthpiece, and he's coming and swinging at you and the ref has not stopped it. You got to keep fighting. And Kovalev, as a professional fighter with 30 plus fights or whatever, he should know that. And he probably does know that, but he was tired. Next question, Enrique Enriquez, Ward versus Kovalev. If they both meet at a catch weight, what do you think about the fight? I'm not a fan of it. I think that's a stupid fight, to be honest. I think Canelo would get destroyed. He's too small. Way too small. Ward just went in there with Kovalev. Canelo has power, but Canelo didn't even stop Chavez Jr. at 164.5. So how's he going to fight Ward and stop him? Plus, he'd be giving up definite height. I've stood right next to both of them, and Canelo's way shorter. Canelo, he's listed at 5'9", but he is not 5'9". like 5'7.5", 5'8" maybe. So that's a terrible fight to me, and I don't think it would ever happen. But I mean, what catch weight? What Ward's at 175. Canelo just moved to 160. Where they're gonna fight? Ward said he's not going back down to 168. So what is Canelo gonna come to 170? It's just not logical. Next question, Dutch ENT. What's good, Ego? What are your thoughts on Kathy Duva's behavior at the press conference? Do you think it's time to get rid of Letterman? Yes. Okay, Jim. What are your thoughts on Jim Lampley trying to get the commission to change the call on the Rigo fight? It's time for Ward and Bud Crawford to leave HBO. New media tell the truth. Hashtag another body snatcher. I mean, Kathy Duva, I thought the behavior was egregious, telling people to shut up. And it's really because her cash cow lost the fight, and he lost in that fashion. And it's damage control. You have to create this conspiracy theory about low blows, and you're going to petition. And it's funny because just like Victor Ortiz versus Mayweather, you notice that was never changed to a no contest or anything, and this is not going to get changed. Kovalev got TKO'd, and it's going to remain like that. I'll put money on that. I'll put money that don't change. The Rigondeaux shit, that might get changed to a no contest. This Kovalev loss is not getting changed. I promise you, because there's nothing that was substantially in there that showed Ward intentionally fouling. He was winning the fight. Why would you even have to intentionally foul someone when you had them in trouble? See how stupid some of you guys sound? And I'm not saying this to you directly. I'm just saying, I just thought about that. Why would you have to intentionally foul somebody if you had them hurt and they're running away from you? You know what I'm saying? Like, what sense does that make? You're trying to get your shots, or you're just trying to hit them. You know what I mean? If you have them retreating and not looking like a crusher, running away, hands by their waist, they look tired, they look spent, why would you have to hit them in the nuts? You know what I'm saying? You're like, oh, I'm just going to win it like this, and I'm going to get disqualified. You know what I mean? Obviously, that wasn't intentional. Kovalev bent down, had no energy, and it is what it is. So it's not going to get changed. I bet you. I promise you that. And yeah, Letterman, he's just on some, if you're not an action fighter, HBO is becoming far too predictable. Shout out to Roy Jones. He's the best there. But way too predictable. I can instantly tell you, without even seeing the fight, who HBO is leaning towards and who they want to win and who their commentary. Chocolatito versus Quadras. Quadras has no shot. It's going to always, you know what I'm saying? They're going to make it sound like Chocolatito is dominating if the rounds are close. That's not boxing. That's not good commentary, because the Quadras fight, even if you had Quadras losing, it was a tough fight. Roman's eyes looked like shit after that fight, right? And let HBO tell it. They'll make it like Chocolatito maintained great control like Floyd Mayweather does over the whole fight. That's not the case. That was a very tough fight, and some people thought Quadras won. Next question, NMABDK. Yo, Ego, I really appreciate the work you're putting in. Keep it up, man. Thank you. I have two questions. In the light of his latest performance, how long do you think SOG can stay at light heavyweight? He's not a big light heavyweight. He can stay there as long as he wants, unless he wants to move up. Also, did Rigo get the win, or was the decision changed to no contest? Thanks. It was called a win, but I believe it's going to get changed to a no contest. I'm going to answer a few more questions, and that's going to wrap it up. I didn't time this, so I don't know how long it's been, but next question, Duan Taylor. Boxingego, my question for Monday Mail Day is, why do you think Andre Ward and other fighters stay at HBO and continue to display their talents when their network and their commentators are so biased? It just seems like Showtime would be a better network. And my question is, Golovkin hinted moving up to 168 after Canelo fight. If there wasn't a rematch, do you see any scenario Ward or Kovalev can be made? Even though Ward said he wouldn't drop back down to weight. I don't know. It's up for grabs, because I was there when Ward said he's not going back to 168. So, I mean, it would be up to him if he can make that and feels healthy at the weight, because he really looked like he filled in at the light heavyweight. So it would be, he said it himself. I was there. He said it in his gym at his media day. He says, I'm not going back down to 168. You usually don't see guys go back down. That's dangerous. I mean, look at Roy Jones. He went up to heavyweight and came back down too fast and got knocked out. So that would be stupid for him to go down. So Golovkin would have to come up to 75. So Golovkin didn't want the fight when he was at 68. I don't think it'll happen, because I think he would have to come to 75. And if he didn't want to fight him at 68 when he was at 60, then I definitely don't see him winning at 160 or 175, especially since I'm picking Canelo to beat him. So that might be the end of any of those talks. Who's going to want to see Ward and Triple G if Canelo does win? But we'll have to wait and see September 16th. And I don't know. Why do HBO? HBO has a working relationship with Top Rank, and that's who Crawford signed with. And Rock Nation works with HBO, and he had a multi-fight contract with HBO. So they stay, you know what I mean? This is livelihood, this is money. Business might make sense, and you know what I mean? Maybe they feel their skills people will be able to judge them no matter what network they're on based on their skills. Next question, Roberto Cabezas. Yo, Ego, do you think 2017 has the potential to be one of the greatest years in boxing ever? Definitely. I can't think of a ton of years, like just off the top of my head, that were greater. But it's definitely one of the best that we've had. Next question, Jeffrey Guy. What up, E? You are the best source of boxing news in the world. Thank you. Do you think if Conor McGregor does a dirty move like a leg kick or something like that, Floyd Mayweather pulls a Victor Ortiz, do you think the criticism will be the exact same way regardless of Conor McGregor initiating the dirty moves? Hashtag tell the truth. Yeah, but I don't think Conor's stupid. And Dana White already made it very clear that if he were to do something like that, he would risk a lawsuit and he would lose a lot of money. And he says Conor McGregor likes money. So I'm not even really thinking nothing like that. No chain reaction like that is going to even go down. Because Mayweather has a good team behind him. They're smart. They're educated. They're business people. So I know for a fact that they've already thought of this concept. What if an MMA fighter goes rogue and starts doing some crazy shit? So I know for a fact that's in the contract. So I don't think that scenario would even play out because Conor McGregor, he would make the news and people might be like, oh, haha, yeah, Conor did it. He kicked the fuck out of Mayweather. But at the end of the day, he would look stupid because he would lose a ton of money, and he would lose respect from fans that don't hate Floyd, and you know what I mean, people who want to see someone fight based on the rules of the contest. Next question, Cornelius Littlejohn. Hey, Ego, big fan. Won thousands of dollars on your predictions. My pockets, thank you. Wow, you're welcome. Question, do you think Jim Lampley went out of his way to get Rigondeaux disqualified? And what's next for Kovalev? Got left. Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard everything Lampley said, but he clearly went out of his way to hate on Rigondeaux per usual. And I don't know what's happening with Kovalev. He needs to take a tune-up. He might end up like Kelly Pavlik, to be honest, based on that systematic beatdown. Especially when you talked all that shit. Like I said, you can make all the excuses you want in the world, but you, like Pac said, but you would not know what's going on. You, in your heart of all hearts, you know what happened in there. And you know if it was the low blows that had you like that. And it was on the belt line, so whatever. Last question, Eatman888. Hey, Ego, you called it. You did say homeboys at Mayweather Gym told you the bout been done. I told y'all with Mayweather McGregor, and everything else was promotion. And I told you guys a long time ago. Still and all, what physical advantage that Conor has over Floyd? I heard people say he's faster. Hell no, he's not faster than Floyd. And Floyd never faced a fighter with longer reach. I don't know if that's true because he faced some guys that were like damn near 6 feet, Diego Corrales and stuff. So I don't know. I'd have to look at the reach. Rest in peace to Chico. People say Floyd has no smoke, but Michael Jai White said that when it comes to punching, boxers hit the hardest of all combat practitioners because all they do is punch, which is probably true. Plus, Floyd has fought bigger guys than Conor with crack. Do you believe Conor has a death touch punch that Floyd can't take? No, I don't think anything like that. Especially the gloves. I mean, I think Canelo probably hits harder than Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? I wouldn't pick Conor McGregor to beat Canelo, to be honest. So, no, I don't think he has no death touch punch. I mean, these guys are regular. There's only so much velocity unless you're just some super freak of nature or on peds. There's only a certain amount of velocity that your size and frame can produce. Conor has power for sure, but again, in boxing gloves, it's going to be a different ball game. I seen the sparring with Chris Van Herding. He didn't look great, so it is what it is. Let me know how you guys think I did. I try to get to a lot of questions, and this one went on kind of long, but make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, is Ego signing off.